All right, Raider Nation, listen up, because this week isn't just another week of preseason football. This one has a little extra spice, a little more intensity, and a whole lot more meaning. All eyes are locked in on the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm not talking about some casual matchup you just watch for fun. I'm talking about a statement game in the making. A game where every single rep, every single snap, and every single detail in practice matters. This is the kind of week where guys on the roster bubble can push themselves into the conversation, and where players fighting for roles can either make a statement or watch their opportunity slip away. It's the kind of week where stock goes up or stock goes down fast. And I'm here to break down exactly who's trending in the right direction and who needs to step it up. Let's start with the offense, because there's one name that everyone in Raider Nation is talking about right now. Cam Miller. The rookie out of North Dakota State was a 6th-round pick, the type of player a lot of people thought would come in, get some developmental time, and maybe see the field down the road. But the kid clearly didn't get that memo. Against Seattle in the preseason, Miller looked poised, confident, and aggressive. He completed 6 of his 7 passes and capped it off with a beautiful deep strike, over 40 yards in the air, right into the hands of Cedric Jackson for a touchdown. It wasn't just the stat line that stood out. It was the way he commanded the offense, the way he looked comfortable pushing the ball downfield, and how he didn't hesitate to take shots when the opportunity was there. And here's where things get interesting. While Miller's arrow is pointing straight up, Aiden O'Connell's stock is slipping. Now, let's be clear. I'm not saying O'Connell is about to lose his job as the number 2 quarterback, but that the coaching staff is ready to flip the depth chart overnight. But the truth is, Miller has been stacking good days in camp and showing he might be a better fit for Chip Kelly's offensive system. There have even been whispers for weeks that he's outplayed O'Connell in multiple sessions. For AOC, it's not just about numbers. He's had to navigate a lot of change over the past year. Different head coaches, offensive coordinators, shifting personnel around him. That's not an easy situation for any quarterback. But with joint practices against the 49ers coming up, this is a massive week for him to reassert himself. The competition in that QB room just got real. From the quarterback position, we move over to the wide receivers. And here we've got a pretty clear example of a player on the rise and one sliding in the opposite direction. Alex Bachman has been making plays, showing up in practice, and earning trust as a reliable option. On the flip side, there's Tommy Millet, the former Montana State quarterback who won the FCS Heisman and came into camp with high hopes as a converted receiver. The idea was that Millet could carve out a role as the 5th wideout while adding value on special teams as a punt and kick returner. Early reports in camp even suggested he might be the lead return man. But fast forward to now, and he's buried on the depth chart, sitting behind Bachman, Sincere McCormick, Dylan Lobby, and Trey Tucker in the return game. It's not just that Millet hasn't seized the role. It's that every single special teams rep that could have helped him lock down a spot seems to be going to someone else. The coaching staff has even experimented with Ashton Janney in return situations. Sure, preseason is a time to try different looks, but if Janney ends up fielding punts in the regular season, something went seriously sideways with the original plan. Meanwhile, Bachman just keeps showing up, running crisp routes, and making the most of every chance he gets. In a room where competition is fierce, consistency matters. And right now, Bachman is delivering while Millet is fading. Now, let's talk about the offensive line. It wasn't exactly a highlight reel performance for the big guys in the trenches against Seattle. In fact, finding a clear stock-up candidate from that group is tough. But if we're talking about upward movement, Antonio Mafi has to be in the conversation. Just a short time ago, Mafi wasn't even repping with the 2s or 3s consistently. Now, after Sunday's practice, he's getting first-team snaps at right guard. That's a major jump in a short period of time. Part of the intrigue here is the connection between Mafi and head coach Chip Kelly from their days together at UCLA. We all know how important familiarity and trust can be when a coach is deciding who to put on the field. With Alex Kappa and JPJ nursing minor rib injuries, the door opened and Mafi walked right through it. The Raiders might still be trying to figure out exactly what they have on the offensive line, and in that uncertainty, a player who already knows the system and the coach has a built-in advantage. On the other hand, We have Thayer Munford Jr., whose performance against Seattle was, to put it bluntly, rough. A 36.6 overall grade from PFF tells part of the story, but honestly, the tape might be even worse. Missed assignments, struggles in pass protection, and a lack of push in the run game. It was a game to forget. The problem is the offensive line competition is heating up, and poor showings like that can push a player down the depth chart quickly. It's one thing to have a bad day in camp. It's another to struggle in live game reps when coaches are making decisions that could define the starting lineup. So to recap the offensive side so far, you've got Cam Miller riding a wave of momentum and making things interesting in the QB room. You've got Alex Bachman quietly but steadily climbing in the receiver ranks, while Tommy Milo's transition to the NFL is hitting bumps. You've got Antonio Mafi seizing his opportunity in the trenches, while Thayer Munford Jr. is scrambling to rebound from a performance that left a lot to be desired. And remember, this is all unfolding in the build-up to joint practices and a matchup with the 49ers, the kind of environment where the intensity is cranked up and the margin for error gets razor-thin. The players trending up will have the chance to cement their case. The ones trending down will have to dig deep and fight for every rep to prove they belong. This isn't the time to fade into the background. It's the time to show you can handle the spotlight, even if it's still technically preseason. Because for some of these guys, the difference between making the roster and getting that call to turn in your playbook could be decided in the next few days. All right, now it's time to flip the script and look at the other side of the ball, because if the offense had its fair share of players trending up and down, the defense is no different. In fact, the stakes might even be higher for some of these guys, because the depth chart battles on defense are cutthroat right now. This is the part of camp where you can't hide, where every snap is on film and every mistake gets noticed. And with the 49ers on deck for joint practices and a preseason showdown, this is where reputations can be built or broken. One of the first names that jumps out is Terrell Edmunds. The Raiders signed him over the weekend, and it's already looking like a move that could pay dividends. Edmunds isn't some untested rookie trying to learn the ropes. He's a veteran with legitimate NFL experience. Shifting from safety to the cornerback position, the competition in the nickel spot is heating up fast. Kyer Q. Blue Kelly has been making noise, and that's not great news for Darnay Holmes. The thing about Kelly is that his game against Seattle was a little bit of a roller coaster early on. He got targeted right out of the gate, and for a moment, it looked like he might be in for a rough outing. But credit to him. Instead of folding, he adjusted, tightened up his coverage, and came back with 2 critical pass breakups. By the end of the night, he had earned an 83.6 PFF grade, the second highest on the entire defense behind only Jamal Adams. That resilience matters. Coaches notice when a player gets beat and then responds with toughness. And Kelly isn't the only one putting pressure on Holmes. Greedy Vance has been having himself a strong camp, bringing the kind of physical edge that's hard to ignore. Pete Carroll has been publicly praising his energy and attitude, and while Vance isn't the biggest guy out there, he plays like someone who refuses to be bullied. Put all of that together, and you've got Holmes in a tough spot. He's had a coaching connection with Patrick Graham, but when you've got 2 other guys making plays and climbing the depth chart, connections only take you so far. On the defensive line, things are complicated. Losing Christian Wilkins was a gut punch. There's no sugarcoating that. He was supposed to be a pillar in the middle, the kind of presence that frees up everyone else to make plays. Then you've got Lucky Fotu in a walking boot, which took away another early season option. The Raiders responded by shuffling reps and giving opportunities to guys like Zach Carter, Tonka Hemingway, and undrafted rookie Tank Booker from SMU. And here's where the stock watch gets interesting. Thomas Booker, acquired via trade, is starting to emerge. Booker didn't just get reps. He got reps with the first-team defense in Sunday's practice, which is a loud and clear sign that the coaches want to see how he handles top-level competition. And against Seattle, he was disruptive on the interior, winning one-on-one battles and collapsing the pocket more than once. Interior pressure is one of the hardest things to generate consistently in the NFL. So when a guy shows he can do it, it gets noticed in a hurry. The other side of that coin is John Jenkins Lalu, who had a rough go of it against Seattle. It's one thing to have a quiet game, It's another to finish with a 28.7 grade and put almost nothing positive on tape. The interior line was already under pressure to respond after Wilkins' departure, and Lalu's struggles only make the situation more urgent. If Booker, Carter, and Hemingway keep stacking good days, it's going to be tough for Lalu to hang onto meaningful reps. Now, there's a bigger point to be made here about the defense as a whole. Stock up or stock down in preseason isn't just about individual talent. It's about timing. If you're trending upward right before joint practices against a physical, well-coached team like the 49ers, you're giving yourself a shot to build momentum into the regular season. If you're trending downward, you're walking into the most competitive stretch of camp with your back against the wall. Joint practices are unforgiving. You don't get to hide behind vanilla preseason playbooks or against second-string opponents. You line up against starters. You take reps against some of the best in the league. And you either prove you belong or you give the front office a reason to look elsewhere. For a guy like Edmonds, this is a golden opportunity. He's new, so the 49ers haven't seen much film of him in silver and black. He can come in, play fast, and make an impression without the weight of previous bad tape in this system. For someone like Kelly, this is the moment to show that his strong finish against Seattle wasn't a fluke. For Booker, it's a chance to prove that his disruptive play can translate against a physical San Francisco offensive line. On the flip side, Smith and Taylor have to respond immediately if they want to change the narrative. Holmes has to figure out how to keep pace with hungry competitors. Lalu has to find a way to flash something, anything, that makes coaches think twice before sliding him down the rotation. This is the final stretch where preseason stock movement can make a real difference. And the thing about the Raiders' defense right now is that nothing feels set in stone. Sure, there are established starters, but the depth roles, the special teams contributors, the rotational pieces, all of those spots are in flux. A strong week here can land you a jersey on opening day. A bad week can put you on the waiver wire. It's that simple. This is what makes the next few days so compelling. It's not just about the scoreboard in the preseason game. It's about the one-on-one drills and joint practices, the situational periods where coaches throw curveballs, the film sessions where small mistakes are magnified. And if the offense has players fighting to seize momentum, the defense is full of guys trying to prove they can be trusted when the games actually count. By the time the Raiders step off the field after facing the 49ers, we're going to know a lot more about who's ready to contribute and who's just not there yet. And for the players whose stock is on the rise, this is their moment to turn upward trends into locked-in roster spots. For the ones going the other way, the clock is ticking, and in the NFL, it's never ticking quietly. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A whirlwind of speculation has finally come to a head with the confirmation of a blockbuster trade that has sent shockwaves throughout the NFL community. Myles Garrett, one of the most dominant defensive ends in the league, has officially been traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Las Vegas Raiders. This move, which had been the subject of intense rumors and insider chatter for weeks, now appears to be a concrete reality that could reshape the Raiders' defensive strategy in ways few anticipated. While both teams involved have issued formal statements, the real story is unfolding among fans and analysts who are now scrambling to understand the full implications of such a high-profile acquisition. There is already talk of how Garrett's presence could elevate the Raiders' pass rush, a department that has long been in need of a game-changing force. The Browns, on the other hand, are rumored to have received a substantial package in return, though details remain under wraps. This trade sets off a cascade of questions about the future roster moves for both franchises, with the Raiders potentially making further adjustments to support their new star defender. The buzz around the league is palpable, as everyone wonders if this trade will lead to a seismic shift in the AFC West balance of power. All eyes will now be on Garrett as he embarks on this new chapter in Las Vegas. Myles Garrett's arrival in Las Vegas is stirring up plenty of chatter about how this might affect the Raiders' defensive front, which historically has struggled to consistently pressure opposing quarterbacks. The addition of Garrett, who has been a perennial Pro Bowler and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate multiple times, introduces a level of intimidation and skill that the Raiders have rarely boasted in recent years. Speculators are debating how head coach Josh McDaniels and defensive coordinator Patrick Graham will integrate Garrett into their schemes. Will he be utilized exclusively on the edge, or could we see a more versatile deployment designed to maximize his disruptive talents? Rumors also suggest that the Raiders might adjust their offseason priorities, focusing less on acquiring new defensive ends and more on strengthening their secondary and linebacker groups to complement Garrett's pass rush. Meanwhile, insiders hint that Garrett's leadership qualities will be just as valuable as his on-field skills, with the veteran expected to become a locker room cornerstone. The Browns' decision to trade him has sparked speculation about their long-term defensive plans, potentially signaling a shift toward a younger core or a different defensive philosophy. This trade, while final, feels like only the beginning of a series of moves that could redefine both teams' futures. The Browns' willingness to part ways with Myles Garrett, a franchise cornerstone and fan favorite, has set off a frenzy of speculation about what the team envisions next. Although the trade has been confirmed, details about the compensation Cleveland received are still cloaked in secrecy, fueling rumors that the Browns may have secured a haul of draft picks and promising young talent. Analysts are debating whether this signals a strategic rebuild or a pivot towards a different style of defense that doesn't rely on a singular superstar. There's talk that the Browns could be aiming to diversify their pass rush options or possibly bolster their offense with the resources freed up by Garrett's departure. Additionally, whispers from the league suggest internal discussions about Garrett's relationship with the Browns management and coaching staff might have influenced the move, hinting at possible off-field dynamics that have yet to surface publicly. This trade might not just be about on-field performance, but also about setting a new cultural tone within the Browns locker room. Fans remain divided, some heartbroken over losing a defensive titan, others intrigued by the possibilities this trade opens. Meanwhile, the Browns' future drafts and free agency strategies are now the subject of intense scrutiny, with every move potentially tied back to the Garrett trade. On the Raiders' side, Myles Garrett's arrival is being met with cautious optimism peppered with high expectations, sparking rumors that the franchise sees this as a bold step toward becoming an elite defensive unit. Insiders suggest that the Raiders may be planning to build their defense around Garrett, possibly reshaping their recruitment and training efforts to maximize his impact. Conversations are buzzing about the synergy Garrett could create alongside other defensive players like Max Crosby, who has shown flashes of brilliance but hasn't had a consistent partner on the edge to share pressure duties. Speculation is rife that the Raiders might increase their investment in complementary players, such as cornerbacks and safeties, to convert Garrett's pressures into turnovers and defensive stops. There are also murmurs that this trade is part of a broader ambition by the Raiders' front office to position the team as a perennial playoff contender, with Garrett's star power boosting not only the defense, but also the team's marketability and fan engagement. The atmosphere around the Raiders' training facility is reportedly charged with excitement, as players and coaches adjust to the prospect of having one of the league's most feared pass rushers in their ranks. With the new season approaching, all eyes will be on Las Vegas to see how quickly Garrett adapts and what kind of ripple effect his presence will have on the team's overall performance. The ripple effects of the Myles Garrett trade are already being felt beyond just the two teams involved, as league-wide discussion suggests this could trigger a series of subsequent moves across the NFL. Other teams in the AFC West and beyond are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, with some rumored to be considering their own aggressive maneuvers to keep pace with the Raiders' newly bolstered defense. The timing of the trade, coming just as the offseason approaches its critical phase, has led to conjecture that this could set off a flurry of counter-trades and free agent signings aimed at shoring up weaknesses exposed by Garrett's move. Speculation abounds that the Browns might continue to reshape their roster, perhaps trading other veterans or pursuing high-profile free agents to fill the void left by Garrett's departure. Meanwhile, rival teams might view the Raiders as a renewed threat, prompting strategic shifts in their own defensive alignments or offensive schemes. The media is abuzz with pundits debating whether this trade could mark the beginning of a new era of dominance for the Raiders, or if the Browns' gambit will ultimately pay off in the long run. Fans and analysts alike are bracing for an offseason filled with unexpected twists, as this blockbuster deal has unquestionably added a new layer of intrigue to the NFL landscape. The stage is set for a fascinating saga that promises to captivate the football world for months to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.